alleged large sum. Well, Pablo Torre, he had new information on his podcast, which released Thursday morning.
Something happened just 9 days before the wire out to Kawhi's KL2 Aspire LLC for $1.75 million on December 15th.
On December 6th of 2022, a wire in from DEA 88 Investments in the amount of $1,999,999.59.
According to my 7 sources, as well as Aspiration's internal cash forecast for sponsorship payments, which is a spreadsheet I obtained, one of the company's absolute top priorities, despite the total financial show enveloping this company, was simple. Hey, KL2 Aspire LLC. According to this Greenbank's Silicon Valley Bank statements, please tell us when exactly Aspiration finally does wire their months-late second payment to Kawhi Leonard.
December 15th of 2022.
On December 6th of 2022, a wire in from DEA 88 Investments.
I said to myself, should probably look up the registered agent on file, and it turned out to be a man named Dennis. Not Uncle Dennis. Dennis J. Wong, our different Dennis, is the vice chairman of the Los Angeles Clippers.
So as we welcome in our senior NBA insider, Brian Windhorst, Brian, I think it's important to note here that overdue payment to Kawhi, which Aspiration made a priority amidst this financial turmoil, it was allegedly made the same day as it laid off 20% of its workforce. That's according to Torre. So there's a lot to process here. Let's distill it down. What do you think is the single most important thing to take away from this new information?
The details that Pablo revealed last week were incredibly compelling. They also allowed the Clippers to have plausible deniability. That did not mean they were innocent, but when Steve Ballmer came and had that interview with Ramona Shelburne, he had plausible deniability. And as Adam Silver said, the burden of proof was on the league. These revelations that came out today had substantially less plausible deniability because of the amounts, because of the relationships involved. This one is going to be harder to explain. Now, Adam Silver made it very clear yesterday that it is dangerous to take a snapshot of something, especially when you're talking about very complex financial records, and that he would encourage and allow the investigation being done by Wachtell Lipton out of New York to play out before doing anything. Considering this is not just the vice chairman of the Clippers, but also their alternate governor, Dennis Wong, this probably will widen the scope of the investigation. And like I said, in the court of public opinion, which is not relevant, this one is very much harder for the Clippers to eventually have to explain.
And again, the appearance of wrongdoing is different than a finding of wrongdoing, which Adam Silver was very clear to hold judgment until the investigation has completed its course, which could take longer if, like you're saying, this requires a finer tooth comb. But Brian, what are you looking to hear next? Whether that's from the Clippers at Media Day, Kawhi Leonard himself, where we hadn't heard weigh in, what do you think is the next chapter here that NBA...
Investigate the teams. They can take the cell phones of Clippers employees. They can look at Clippers email documents, but they can't look at other companies' financial statements. And because those unknowns are there, it's very difficult to predict. Obviously, we will hear from Kawhi later this month when the Clippers gather for training camp. I would be very surprised if he comments on this, considering the various investigations going on, including federal investigations, of which this company Aspiration is involved in. And I also will say that this investigation, I think, will take a very long time to play out, but is unpredictable what will happen next.
Yeah, that's an important point, that this company is being investigated by the DOJ, and it's not just the NBA. There are other branches here that are going to need to play out as well. Brian, thank you so very much. Playoff matchup is somehow set heading into the final night of the regular season, so we had to say hello to our queen of all things WNBA, Chiney Ogwumike. I don't know if we can narrow it down to just one, Shanae. So walk us through the most important storylines. Hang on, I got to get a pen because there's so much going down tonight.
Let me tell you guys, there are two important games. I know all of these are technically important, but there are two to keep your eyes on.
Right.
And the game of the year might actually be the last game of the WNBA regular season. Las Vegas Aces at the Los Angeles Sparks. Happy that you're going to be there. The reason I say this is because the Las Vegas Aces have an opportunity to lock up the number 2 seed. If you're number 3, if you fall down there, you only host one round of the WNBA playoffs. So they want to host multiple rounds. And of course, there's the opportunity for revenge. Yep. Also on the Los Angeles side, Kelsey Plum playing her former team. Maybe she wants to play spoiler, knock them down. But also the Las Vegas Aces, every team that has gone 15-0 in a season has won a championship. They're looking to go 16-0. They're trying to ride being the hottest team in the WNBA. Watch out for that last game of the year. But also, it's not just a battle at the top. It's the battle at the bottom. I want you guys to take a look. But by the way, like, if the Aces win, this is what the standings would look like.
Okay.
Lynx Aces, if the Aces lose, this is what the standings, they drop to 3. And again, home court implications.
Got it.
It's also a second battle that is actually truly interesting. It's the battle at the bottom. I want you guys to look at the game between the Minnesota Lynx and the Valkyries. Because the Minnesota Lynx, they also can control their destiny. We already know that. They are locked at the number 1 overall seed. But the Valkyries, they have yet to beat the Lynx. They're 0-3 versus the Lynx. If they beat them, they avoid them. Now, if they end up losing, it's going to be interesting because then you have the Seattle Storm in the mix as well.
Right.
So these are the scenarios. If the Valkyries win, they avoid them. The Storm get them. The Storm is something that's interesting because they split against the Lynx, 2-2. If the Valkyries lose, they have to face their opponent who they have yet to beat.
And we don't know yet if Napheesa Collier is going to be giving it a go in this one. She is a game time decision, right?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So there's a lot to keep an eye on, but the last game, obviously with the Aces and the Sparks, but also this game here between the Valkyries and the Lynx, those are the two that will actually truly set the standings in the WNBA playoffs.
It is going to get wild in this final day of the regular season. And lucky for us, not only is Shanae here with us all show long, we have a couple of very special guests lined up for today's show. In just about 10 minutes, Valkyries head coach Natalie Nakase is stopping by to introduce the world to playoff Valhalla. I'm really excited to talk to her about how her squad is exceeding expectations, her Coach of the Year case, so much more. And then the reigning MVP, A'ja Wilson, also joining us a little later in the show. At 3:45 Eastern, we're going to be talking all things Aces, Shanae, and that streak that you mentioned, and what an unprecedented 4th MVP would mean for her. So we're going to get to for that insight. We have a lot to